So for whatever reason, I've been reflecting on the Age of Extinction toy line more recently. And normally when I talk about toys that I'm reflecting on, I like talking about good toys. But for whatever reason, when I've been reflecting on it, I've been like going back and watching videos of like the crappy Age of Extinction toys. Just remembering all the weird like flip change, smash and change, weird sword slash, all these weird freaking Age of Extinction toys. You may be wondering, why are you showing the Silver Knight Optimus Prime? Well, one of the weirdest things about Age of Extinction was Silver Knight Optimus Prime. For whatever reason, Target had the exclusive rights to Silver Knight Optimus Prime. Walmart had exclusive rights to Stinger. Of course, they never even made a deluxe Stinger, hilariously. But they actually made a fair few different kinds of Silver Knight Optimus Primes for Target. This is one of the good ones. This is a vac metal chrome version of the Dark of the Moon Deluxe Optimus as Silver Knight Optimus. This one's really good. I really like it. But we're not really talking about this one today. Like I said, I'm talking about the crappy Age of Extinction toys. So that brings us to today's subject. And that is the first edition. You may be thinking, oh, first edition, that was really good for Transformers Prime. Well, stay tuned. This is the first edition Silver Knight Optimus Prime. This is perhaps one of the worst Optimus Primes in my entire collection. You may be wondering, J4, why do you have such a crappy Optimus Prime? Well, let me tell you. I was strolling through my Target, as some people do, and I saw this thing on the shelf. I think this thing retailed for about $50 or $60, something crazy like that, even though it's technically a leader class. Well, it's not even technically. I don't think it was ever even classed size-wise. It's basically leader class. They upped the price just a little bit, just because it's first edition Optimus Prime, even though it's hot garbage. And I saw this on the Target shelf, and I'm like, no way is this thing worth $60. I figured I'd scan it, though, just to see what the price was. And it was already on clearance for about $15. Yep. They clearanced it about 75% off. And I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll buy a leader class figure at a deluxe price, even though this thing might be total garbage. And guess what? This one is not that good. I actually keep this one around just because it's so bad it's funny. I've been wanting to talk about this toy on the channel for a while now. Because of this image that I'm showing right now. Yes, that is one singular Optimus Prime, where you can separate the truck pieces and the robot pieces, and still have them both physically entirely intact. Yep, this is a true shell former, if there ever was one. And not just that, let's just zoom in, because this thing's pretty fugly. Look at that head sculpt. Look at that head. This is based off a concept art, but still, look at that. No, he's not wearing the faceplate. This is supposed to be him without the faceplate. He's got this weird little mouth just right by his chin. He's got this weird little mouth and like this odd, like, ooh position. It looks so silly. He also has a black face where his head is silver, but his face is like dark gunmetal black or whatever. Makes him look like he's coughed up smoke. And he's, like cartoon characters when they like cough up smoke or something and like their face gets all like shadowed. It looks like that. He does have the vac metal like how the deluxe did, just on his chest basically, and his thighs for whatever reason. And we'll get to those thighs because they sing some beautiful songs. But yeah, you can see he's got this big old shield, which actually looks kind of cool. That's kind of cool looking. A lot of silver paint. It's all energized, but not really accurate to the movie. Like I said, concept art. He's got his big old sword, too. Like I said, not accurate to the movie, but it's actually kind of cool looking. Let's just get the weapons out of his hands, because he's not worthy of them. Yeah, man, look at this. This is, oh, gosh. And it feels just as bad. This is in an era of Transformers where the plastics definitely suffered. You can see there's a lot of hollow plastic. It's kind of got a little bit of a flex to it because it's not as dense as the plastics they use nowadays are. Now, granted, they've raised the price nowadays, but you get what you pay for. This is just, it's not very good plastic. And you can see, like, stuff doesn't even tab together. That just flaps around. His backpack is huge, and that stuff just kind of flaps around. Even though, like, his kibble is totally, like, out of control, his joints are super tight and ratcheted for whatever reason. And I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me right, his hips sing some songs. Oh, yeah. That's some hefty clicking. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. That's the song I was thinking about. Very squeaky. It's funny, that's one of the few things I remembered of this figure. I haven't really messed with it in too long. Yeah, like, why are these joints so tight and firm when everything else is just flopping around? What were they thinking? I don't know who designed this, but I hope you never design another Transformer after this, because this is not good. His articulation, swivel at the head. It's not just the base figure itself. Like, this base figure is not that good, right? The first edition Prime is not good. He's got double elbows, nothing at the wrist, nothing at the waist. You got hips that move forward and out. Because it's actually interesting, they vac metallized his thighs but then painted blue on top of that. So the blue paint chips off very easily. He's got knees that can bend and rotate. And then his feet are on these, you know, pathetic little ball joints that it's not like it's going to do anything because he got this big old flap behind it. But yeah, it's not just the base figure. It's also the Silver Knight Optimus Prime deco. It's awful. It's like the blue and the red just is not nicely proportioned. It would have been nice if his head had a little bit of color. Because even, at least the Deluxe still had a blue head. And like I said, man, that dark face with the bright silver helmet, and especially that awful head sculpt, it just looks miserable. And he's got like these dark, it's like the darkness just doesn't really add to the Silver Knight look. Especially in the face, like just look at that. It looks awful. It looks like a Homer Simpson Optimus Prime. Okay, let's not crack myself up. Let's decide to change my mood by trying to transform this. So the transformation of this is actually quite simple, but absolutely miserable. So his torso is like this totally independent component. You can see it's like totally separate. It's so funny just seeing his torso floating away from his body. But yeah, this just goes to show how much of a shell former this is. Because his torso is totally independent from the truck. An entire half of his body, totally independent. His thighs also totally independent. The only part of his body that's really dependent are the legs. Even then, as you can see, it's just like the sides that have all this clutter. If you take that off, like you saw in that picture, like you can split it. You'll have to cut some plastic and everything, but you can do it. And it's awful. His torso, I'm pretty sure you just do this, and that'll just conceal inside the massive shell that I am beginning to form. You can see though on the truck there's a lot of silver paint, which is pretty neat. His legs then, they do some stuff. I actually do like how this like totally comes around to the front. I actually think that's pretty neat. But you can see, man, it's just a total shell. It's just, oh my gosh. Then you have to like figure out how this kind of is supposed to work itself up, because it wants to fight with the foot. Because the foot, I think does the foot tab in anywhere? Yeah, it does. Tabs in right there. So yeah, once you tab it in and you know what you're doing, then I think you can like get this up and over enough to get it like slotted in. And it's just so thin. The plastic is so thin, man. Oh look, that tab. The plastic's so thin it actually flexed and didn't even fully go in. That's nice. So yeah, it's funny, his skirt piece just kind of goes in the front. Look at this. Oh my gosh, and yes, we'll get to that. Yeah, let's do this again. Let's see if I can actually do it a little better. Whoop. I do think that's kind of a cool idea. It just doesn't feel any good, and it also just isn't any good. So yeah, we've got the front of the truck. Dude, the actual leader class Age of Extinction Optimus is such a better figure than this. The top of the truck tabs there. Then this flips down. Oh man, it just feels so cheap. Look at that. And listen to the wheels, man. Look at his legs. How hollow those are. Oh man, this thing is so cheap. And it's so funny. Like, you may be thinking, oh man, it's a pretty big figure, and you know, there were a lot of budget cuts back then. Maybe you should give Hasbro some slack. The thing is, they overcharged for this, even when it came out. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, charging like $60-something for this hot garbage. Oh, hooray, I didn't do it in the right order of operations. There we go, doesn't really matter anyway, does it? Let's just kind of try to get this over with. So the side panel is supposed to tab into his torso. You just got to line that up right. I said you just got to line that up right. There we go. And then that tabs in there. It's just so much shell, man. And if you know how Transformers are, if they're shells, it's so much aligning and so much fiddling. Like, why is that not fully lined up? Man, I can't even care. And like I said, I didn't do it in the right order, so now, oop, pop that off. It didn't break, it just popped off, thankfully. Just pop that back on in the right place. There we go, thank you so much. Get this tabbed in, get that slotted. Ah, geez. Why is it not like fully closing right there? There we go. Gotta bring this little piece of shell out just ever so slightly. And then, yes, you're not mistaken. If you don't flip this piece, you're left with this sight. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? It's like Optimus Prime just sleeping in his own truck. I mean, it is a sleeper cab. You see all that space back there. I guess Optimus Prime's just taking a little snooze. He hasn't shaved in a while, as you can see. Looking a bit like Homer Simpson. Oh, jeez. Let's get this over with. So, get this top tab. You can flex all the plastic out of the way because it's all thin as paper. And there we go. This thing is so light. It's so light. It's so hollow and light. This is ridiculous. Yeah, here's the Silver Knight Optimus Prime truck. And as you can see, it looks better in the truck mode. I'll give it that. A lot of dull gray plastic, but also a lot of silver paint. And a lot of red paint. Like, almost the entire cab is paint. And there is more chrome for the grill, so I can at least respect that. But, oh man, look at those wheels. You can just hear it, man. You can just hear the cheap. Oh my gosh. The thing is, like I said, I've been looking at a lot of cheap Optimus Prime, or a lot of cheap Age of Extinction toys on YouTube. Just like, oh man, look at how cheap and garbage that is. But the thing is, those were made for kids. This was a first edition that was supposed to be more for like collectors. And that goes like down there, right? Yeah. Dude, this is not a collector figure. This thing's hot garbage. And they overpriced it so much. This thing is trash. Ah, man. It's funny, though. To move this guy, I did actually stumble across this other beautiful Age of Extinction Optimus Prime. This one rode Grimlock. Let's just take a little look at this. Look, almost no paint. Just a little bit of red on the arm there. Just a little bit. He does have a silver face. It looks awful. It's actually... that's a burp. It's actually based off the Evasion Mode Optimus. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see... I don't see how this would ever remotely be worth the price that they originally charged. I only spent like $15 and I still felt ripped off. So, if you would ever be interested in the first edition Optimus Prime mold from Age of Extinction, would I recommend it? Heck friggin' no. Do not buy this toy. It is not good. Even if you're an Optimus Prime collector, I would say skip this one. It's not worth your time. The Age of Extinction leader class, also the Last Night leader class, yeah, that's really good. Especially if you can get the Takara version, where it has all the bells and whistles. That's a really good figure. The absolute best version of Age of Extinction Prime is from Unique Toys, because I don't know if Hasbro and Takara will ever get around to making a good one. And I actually really like this design for Optimus Prime. So that is my first and only third-party Transformer, the Unique Toys Challenger. It's really good. If you want if you want an Age of Extinction Prime, get Unique Toys Challenger. This is hot garbage. This probably is one of the worst Optimus Primes in my collection. And that's why I wanted to show it. I often show things that are really cool that I'm like freaking out over. It's like, oh wow, this is so awesome. I really like it. I think it was about time that I showed the other end of that spectrum. Especially since Age of Extinction's been on my mind lately. I think I might go on a little bit of an Age of Extinction spree. How about that? I might be going back and looking at some Age of Extinction figures in the next few videos that are like more older Transformers focused, because I got some memories with Age of Extinction. It was a time. It was a time for me. I remember walking into Toys R Us. Like I was like speed walking in a Toys R Us. Jeez, Age of Extinction was 2014, so I was still pretty young back then. I would be like what, like 15, 16, something like that. That sounds too old. Ah, geez. Yeah, I would have been like 16. Yikes. More like 15, because my birthday's later in the year. 15-year-old me was speed walking in a Toys R Us, and I asked the employee, I'm like, "Do you have the new Transformers toys?" And he said, "Yeah, they're out." Or no, he didn't say, "Yeah, they're out." He just said, "They're out." And I took that as they're out of stock. And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "No, they're out on the shelf. Go get them." I'm like, "Okay, good." I vividly remember that. That was some good times. Age of Extinction, man. One of the last Transformers movie releases was really hype. For toy-wise, the Bumblebee movie was hype movie-wise, but toy-wise, didn't really have a lot going on when it launched. But Age of Extinction, dude, it was going all out. I remember walking into Toys R Us and just seeing like the front display for Age of Extinction, like, whoa, so much cool stuff. The good old days. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching, especially a little memory lane trip talking about this absolutely horrible Optimus Prime. Special thanks to the patrons of Patreon. You guys are awesome. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Alrighty, guys, there we go. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.